They line up in Bucha, hope in their hearts. Too many about to be broken. This is the first day DNA testing is being used to help identify the dead. And Yulia Baesh, whose husband is missing, is steeling herself. To be honest, we expect that we may find him here, she says. We hope that he is somewhere in captivity. This Kyiv suburb is infamous for the slaughter of civilians. Amid all the cruelties uncovered here, a different type of torture continues, that of not knowing. At the start of the war, soon after recording this video from their home in Bucha, Yulia's husband, Vitaly Yefimchuk, sent her and their 2 children to safety in western Ukraine. He stayed in Bucha with a relative to protect their home. Every day we spoke by phone until March 7th, she says. That day, they cooked breakfast on an open fire because they didn't have any gas. After that, he drove to the store for water or bread, and from that time, he disappeared, she says. What's required of her today, she can't do alone. She needs her 9-year-old son, Dmytro. He's the genetic connection to his father. We've come here to do DNA analysis, he says. We want as soon as possible to find our daddy.
So you hope the test will come negative?
Yes, she says. A French team brought in the mobile laboratory behind me in those tents. That's where they're collecting the DNA evidence to help the Ukrainians identify the bodies that are in the morgue and in the refrigerated truck right behind the tent. They'll check to see if Dmytro's DNA matches samples taken from unidentifiable bodies found in the nearly 4 weeks since the retreat of Russia's military. Bodies found in the streets, in cars, in buildings, and in the 8 mass graves so far discovered.
And in those 8 graves we have found 148 bodies. So the total number has been 1,202. We have not identified almost 280 people.
Yevhen Spirin, a volunteer at the morgue here, has seen the condition of those 280 unidentified bodies. You can't recognize them, he says. We try to find special signs like tattoos or scars.
Signs of torture?
Yes, he says. A lot of people had bound hands and gunshot wounds in the eye or the back of the head. Under Ukrainian law, the taking of DNA samples requires a prosecutor's permission. That's why Andriy Turbar is here.
A woman we met today, she thinks that her husband is still alive, that he's in prison somewhere. What do you think the chances are of that?
We've had several cases in Borodyanka when men were captured and moved to Belarus. And I don't deny this possibility for some people, he says. I also understand that people try to keep hope that their relatives are really alive. But the truth is that Russian soldiers committed a lot of war crimes. After more than an hour waiting, it takes around 15 minutes for Dmytro to complete the process of providing DNA samples. Afterward, he and his mother are ushered away to complete the process, going past the refrigerated truck, before confirming the details on how she'll be informed of the results. By phone, probably in the next few days. She said she saw signs that Russians had entered her home, but she's found nothing stolen. Just some broken windows and broken hearts. We just had our wedding last September, Yulia says. We lived together for 11 years, but just last year we wanted to get married. Their older son, Ihor,
how are you doing?
Betrays little emotion. It's hard, he says, but I know for whom I need to live, and this understanding gives me the energy to keep calm. Calmness, his mother admits, she doesn't have. I'm losing my hair and have a hand tremor. The cruelty of a senseless war on their faces, in their trembling hands, as they endure the pain of uncertainty and wait for that call.
And Newsy's Jason Bellini is with us tonight from Kyiv. Jason, it's difficult to watch that story and not get emotional, especially for those of us who have children. A 9-year-old giving DNA in hopes of just finding out what happened to his dad. Did any other family members offer to give a DNA sample?
Well, Moritz, the answer in the case of this family is no. The dad had no siblings. And Yulia tells us her husband's parents, who live in Russia, refuse to even consider the idea that Russian troops could have killed their son. Now, due to their belief in Putin's side of the story, Yulia says she and their grandchildren have severed all contact.
Ukraine's foreign minister accused Russia today of resorting to missile terrorism tactics in order to spread fear across Ukraine. But the depravity of what happened in Bucha was face to face. People shot in the head at point blank range, their hands tied behind their backs. This family you introduced us to, they're just one of many. So what do they need? How can they continue on? How can we help?
Well, this family's needs are very specific. Yulia, first of all, needs to know whether there's any hope of her husband being still alive, and by this time tomorrow, she may have that answer. She doesn't know whether there'll be any financial assistance for widows and children of those killed. They don't know yet. As far as the children, they don't have the distraction of going to school. Their classes are all online, and now many of their friends are among the refugees who've left the country. What the country needs, what they need, is peace, but where that is on the horizon, no one seems to know.
It's certainly something we're all hoping for. Jason Bellini, thank you so much for joining us from Kyiv. Please stay safe.